We're back on. Whoa. Okay, so today's been a bit dizzy. I had to go to town when I was with my mom. It was okay. Got a little constrained for time. I had to get a shaver head. Turns out I have to order it online. And I don't like shopping. I hate everything about it. I hate that I'm always trying to sell you more than you're really looking for, making small talk with people you wouldn't normally talk to. Yeah. And making small talk to people you wouldn't normally talk to. And, my mom had to do a couple things too, and walk around in the sun with my shoes under my arm. I was like, I just want to put this in the fucking car. You know what? Next time I go up with my mom, I should just take her fucking car keys, because Jesus, it's nice. I should get an extra set now. Wow. Somebody left their shoes here. Nice shoes. I wonder what they're doing. Oh. I just want to get into the bush and take a piss. But we were talking about the meaning of life. What is life? And I knew that I could ask that question in a way, the right way. And I think, and life will tell me, what is life? And then life would say, hey, I'm surprised you've waited this long to ask. And what is at the very heart, what is at the very root of life? Why is there life instead of not life? And I used to read books on physics, and they would ask the same things, but they're framing it in terms of, the space that's made in a Hollywood basement, and not so. Everything is there to be done. The world is largely artifice. All the great questions have not been answered. And you're not going to get a blip from your favorite priest or priestess telling you. You might enjoy listening to them. At the end of the day, you got to put the phone down. You got to put the internet down. You got to tell yourself something. So why do I think there is life instead of not life? As someone who is alive, but only provisionally, and maybe only provisionally. And you think, well, what do you grab onto instinctually? If, what would you... And a lot of what I know about life has been touched by all the violence I've seen on television and on the news. That life, for humans, life made me think that life is very, very fleeting. And if you're not a celebrity, or if you are, they have videos of them like, oh, what did you do when you got wealthy? And I bought these mansions and all these cars. Oh, look, this is $1 million car. There was only 2 of them made. My watch costs, $200 million, whatever. It's just the numbers kind of numb your mind. It's like, whoa. And it makes me think of like people's expensive outerwear, their clothing, like an expensive suit versus walking around in shorts and a grease-stained t-shirt, and how we make definite decisions about a person based on their clothing, or, if you will, their appearance. A great-looking naked man with a tool belt and a fireman's hat and a big hose would probably be preferable to a lot of women to a fully clothed fat man with a grease stain on his suit. Until you found out that the guy with the fat man, the grease stain on his suit, was a billionaire, and the guy on the other side was just a stripper who made $250 a night, maybe at most. Right? Not bad, but not the same as the billionaire. And a woman's pussy has this receptor site for units of currency. They actually become hornier the more money a man has. Right? You get a reasonably good-looking man with some money, whoa, I mean, you got yourself a guaranteed wife. Right, so listen, life has a purpose, I think, but before we get into that, we got to think that the origin of the meaning of life, why is there life instead of non-life? Why all this life? Human happiness is fleeting, childhood is fleeting. You have the love of your mother and father, that goes away. Some people are traumatized by that. Maybe they cover it up with your personality and your social connections. Pretty soon life goes by and you're 60 and your mom and dad are old or they're dead. And I spend a lot of time with my mom and I think, shouldn't we have deeper conversations? Like I should tell her, how much she means to me. I should tell her how much having her as my mom or my mommy was just everything in the world to me. The sun is out, there's more traffic, there's more fucking people everywhere. It's one of the first things you notice. It's pretty much the first day of summer today, June 16th or 17th, and there's there's more going on everywhere. So I'm just heading into the woods now. There's a car parking up there, turning around. Yeah, everybody's out and about. The ants are abuzz. Everyone wants to get around and get out. There's going to be surges in sales. I got some tea tree oil. Got that in my bag. So, and then my mom actually commented on my physical appearance today for the first time. It's cold in the shade. I'm going off tourist territory. Oh, that's looking good. The stream's gone down quite a bit. It's good. I don't plan on having to walk back. But I've had to take a piss for a while. That's pissing me off. Had a couple of good shits today. But I hate, my pet peeve today going to town is that, why can't we stop and enjoy ourselves and go sit on the grass or go sit by the lake and just hang out? Why can't we do that? And it's like, oh, I gotta get back for the dog. Like, fuck, hire someone to look at your dog. For Christ's sake, Jesus Christ, it's a beautiful world. her are the days about, things you have to get done. Me, I want to get someplace where I don't have to do anything else. I hate having to do things. At least I got the shoes. I figured out a way to get the razors. Oh, turn that. That'd be good. And yeah, so all in all, success. And yeah, so there's too many tourists around for me to take a piss right now. I could happen upon someone anywhere along here. All right. The winter is kind of past, but it's Canada, so winter never really leaves. Eagles calling. Ay, 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 ay. Okay. Oh, goodness. Jesus. Oh. Okay. I could go down this way, the opposite of where I do my doobity-doo, and then doobity-doo-dad-doo. Fuck. I'll push it on this way. Nice. I only see deer prints along here. I gotta say, a lot of people don't really make a huge impression on me because I meet their dogs and it's like I know, and you can know, anyone can know, when you meet someone that there's something like awake, we all have it, and my mom loves this little girl that lives next to her. Oh, she's so it's wonderful. And it's like, I've only met her maybe once briefly, not really, and I like her younger sister better. Yeah, and I suspect she's a bit of a liar, but this is nice. Now I'm finally getting away. It takes a while to feel like, I'm far enough away. I can start really talking again. Hello. Hi. Beautiful. Let's keep going. It's good. The river's gone way down. I'll be able to cross it fairly easily down here if I want to, and if I want still I could, if there's enough sun, I come around to the other side. But now that I'm here, I wanted to be here yesterday. I think I'll enjoy this side for a while. Yeah, like when I spend time with my mom, she's always got somewhere to go and something to do. I never actually see my mom a lot. She doesn't have anything to do, like outside the house. So we don't really socialize, you know. Or we go to a restaurant for a birthday or something. It's like, it sucks shit. And I try talking to her. I try to start other subjects. And it's like, I don't think my mom has ever had a relationship with anybody where she had to talk about anything serious. I just don't think she does that. Like, I bet you there are people who do that all the time. Like, the only time I ever saw people talking seriously was on television. You know, where they like really talk to somebody. It was always scripted. You know, I can't imagine how many times in my life I really had a heart-to-heart discussion with someone who wasn't bullying me, usually a woman in some way. Or like a woman needed to dominate the discussion. Tell me everything she knows. It's not really a conversation, you know. They're doing what they need to do, so to them it's like just an honest part of themselves, you know. I remember when that one woman who eventually she's quite an expert sexual predator. And from the moment I met her, she would talk about whatever she was talking about. It was always an explanation for everything, you know. They've lived around gurus, they've lived around intellectual people, they've lived around people who have decided, as far as they tell anyone. This is why I don't like socializing, because people start performing. It's like, oh, you know, I know this, I know that, you know. Right? It's all posturing and acting. All those people are dead. Anyway, nobody cares anymore what they have to say. They talk like they're not going to die. Like they're not really scared of living. You hear things like, oh, are you scared of living? And say, yeah, I'm scared about everything about living. Why wouldn't I be? I'm one small, tiny human being in a world full of all kinds of strange forces. Most of which are just psychological. In other words, if we lived in a cabin somewhere, we wouldn't have to fucking worry about it. But we do it anyway. Like I said, I spent 10 years with no media. And you don't miss it. If anything, it looks like a mental illness. Because you can live without it. You really can. You know? I look at interviews of Mike Tyson, like, I never followed his career. I never followed his fights and shit. Like, I don't really care that much. You know? I don't. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know? It doesn't matter if he was the best boxer ever. It doesn't matter if Michael Jordan was the best basketball player ever. Remember when I played soccer in school, I'd be like, hey, let's do it like Pele does that, you know? I had no idea how Pele did anything. He was just a du jour soccer star. Yeah. And believe me, I had never had any chance of being like Pele, but I think I peaked when I was in grade 7. And the reason is that, you know, people put their children in sports, but normally children weren't interested in sports. And, you know, they had other things to do. Like, children used to have other things to do besides sports and video games. It's amazing to believe that. You think like, my God, what did they do with their time? What did we do before the internet? You know, yeah. You know, so I kind of want to live, in a sense, a little bit in the way before the internet was. And those people, you know, they had ennui as well. What did they long for? Did they long for the days before World War I and II? Stripped people's families of any notion of ever having a father again? We walk around like these things haven't even happened. People born after 1946, what do they know about war? You live through things. You're going to live through things. What are people in the future going to be able to understand about what you live through? Is there a part of history that explains domestic abuse? Do you think if you took all the domestic abuse and all the deaths from domestic abuse and all the disease and all of the contortions of already fairly demanding world in every child's heart and mind for centuries will be adequately chronicled by an historian? And then they'll just look at you and say, that's not our job. Right? Beauty, nature, are these not part of the purpose of life? Why things in life? So I do agree with the Indians or the Hindus that in the birth of life is bliss. I do agree with that much, just that much. There's something in the origin of all life, any life, is a bliss relationship between something and itself, or something and another thing, and science today says, well, everything has to come from nothing, because of how they think about, Euclidean ideas of time, which is like, that's fine, the time on the clock, but time is a substance that's not space itself, but it's spread through space. So you might say in the beginning of life is the beginning of time. But what if time existed before life? And life, right? What if time was basically the progenitor? Now you've got something, right? As much as you think you can have something, and without being able to really control what it is you have. different tasks to do, and I only had a certain amount of time. And then I ended up waiting for someone else, and I had nothing to do. You know? I think there wouldn't be really much reason to think about the purpose of life as such and whatnot if you weren't in some sense enjoying your life. And so it's not hard to think like, well, anyone interested in the purpose of life, maybe someone inclined to think that at the origins of life there would have to be something enjoyable to life. And you could sort of append the phrase, oh, that's just a human sentiment. Oh, that's just a human sentiment. As though the buffalo walks who's just a buffalo walking, or the deer and their horns are just a deer with horns. It's, the moon is just the moon, and the sky is just the sky. Your hand is your hand, and your sickness is your sickness, and your death is your death. And it just seems to me very nihilistic to say that human ideas of things are somehow fatuous because they're human ideas. And then you could say, well, what's the point of having any ideas? But we certainly have ideas that work. Without ideas, we wouldn't have anything, any creative thing that humans use at all. See, I see history like humans living really well in nature, because that's what any animal is able to do. And then other humans coming along and trying to destroy that. And then leading humans to use their creative energy to build a world that will never be anything but inhuman. That's how I see the world. And all humans are dependent on that, so they can't really get away from it. Humans aren't inclined to imagine a crime which they cannot escape. And yet they imagine sin, they imagine karma, they imagine all kinds of fates for themselves. And because of whatever they imagine, they never lift a finger to truly change their circumstances. They never find their own answers to what life is. Do you think the dead know what life is? Life is pretty good for the dead. When you leave your body, life is pretty good. So, can we say that things that exist have a purpose? Why do things exist instead of not existing? What is life that the absence of it can be seen as more illusory than the presence of it? What is the salmon but the bear that hungers for it? And what is the bear but that they hunger for the salmon, or the salmon that they hunger for new life? And what but those salmon find new life, whether they die in the spawning grounds or in the stomach of a bear? And if you look at nature, and people say nature is cruel, nature is not cruel at all. Nature is nowhere near as cruel as people are. Nature is not cruel at all. Death usually comes quite swiftly, and whereas I said, with people who drink ethanol, they're basically just committing suicide. One sip at a time. Ethanol, if you were a pharaoh preparing to die and have your brain sucked out of your nose, the best thing to do would be to be as drunk as possible. You're like, hey man, I like what you're doing with that coat hanger. Huh, I guess no more headaches for me. I like to be positive. Hey, can I have another drink? This is starting to feel a bit painful. Yeah, sure, sire. Whatever you like. But if you like, my holy sire. God, first place to think all fucking day. These are sad motherfuckers. Like stalking me for the last 3 weeks. Huh? What's next on the plan? Huh? Isn't that plan with you? Hmm. It's amazing you have time to do anything else, eh? There's amazing how many people who used to be teachers. My sister is a teacher. I have an uncle who raped several of his sisters when he was young. It's amazing, male or female, how many teachers I've known who are stalkers, who have a very stalker way of being about them. I really think that beyond the classroom, they prefer to be able to tell other people what to do. I've met women, there's a librarian, she used to read stories to children and stuff, I guess before COVID. And, fuck, I mean, like, do you ever fucking think about anything? Do you ever really fucking think about anything? And you can look at the way they move and the way they talk, and you just know, like, I'm sorry, but what the fuck have you ever done to give any man any fucking curious interest in knowing you? Like, you're so fucking boring. Like, you really have nothing fucking interesting. You have no real manner about you, no sense of the hunger for knowledge and how it has to go into the earth. Your hunger for knowledge has to bring you into the earth. If your knowledge has not involved thinking about the roots of things, has not involved thinking about why there is life coming out of the earth and not any at all, forget environmentalism, forget acid rain and whether or not the fucking salmon are going to run or what you call an invasive species, why is there any life at all? If you can't fucking answer that, what the fuck is the point of anything? It's like a picture. I just don't even bother. I don't even bother. Stretching, it's all about stretching. I stretch parts of my body. I don't stretch it. You don't stretch your body. Does it really matter? The thing about chiropractics is that if you don't stretch, it doesn't matter. And a lot of them won't tell you that. If you don't know your own body and you can stretch your own body, like, they're useless. They'll make money off of you forever. You know? You ever been sexually abused? That's why I have that. Nobody knows a lot about the abuse of men because nobody knows a lot about the abuse of men, and women talk as though they don't know, and men never tell them. Practically cross right over here. It's deeper over there. There's nobody out here. What is the purpose of life? Why is there life? The answer could be very grand, indeed. I think there is an answer to that. I think there are things that we could say about it if we observe life. Kingfisher just had something in their beak. Maybe it's to get things in our beak. What does the Fisher King look for? What is the purpose of life? I look around here. Over the last year and a half, I've been stalked by any number of these locals. I've sat here. Now there's lots of foliage, but I've been stared at sitting here. I've been glared at and stared at and stalked and frightened. And I've had days and panic attacks. I've been approached by the police. I've been approached by environmental services. And then I fought back. And after a few phone calls, finally it all ended. And I just had to wait for them to make a wrong move. And they did.
patience helped. Eventually there was now something I could do that wouldn't make it worse. And then it just stopped and they're all gone. What do people do with their time, you know? And these are mostly retired teachers and like I said, this lady Sue, never had any interest in her, you know? Never. Met these women and they're just like, blah. They're just blah. They're like, what could anyone ever get from knowing you? Because their brains are imprisoned. Their brains are in prison. It's like my mom's brain or my dad's brain. They can't think about anything. And it hurts when they do. Hi. That's like the third kingfisher I've seen. They're amazing. Long beaks. I hear people. To me, romantic reflection on nature is essential to sense the essence of things. I don't have a lot of patience for humans today. I wish I could have done all that shopping online. Maybe I should. Now I know I've got size 10 Blundstones. And she looked at my shoes and they're round-toed. And she got me square-toed. And I was looking, I was like trying them on. Okay, it's the right size and stuff. Can I get the same size in the round toe? And she said, okay. And that was fine. And so it's like the first thing she did is look at my shoes and then say they were square-toed when they're round. And I've never bought square-toed shoes, and I didn't want to. You know. And then she tried selling me some kind of spray, and I said, well, I've worn these every day for 8 to 12 hours a day for 8 months, and they just started breaking down, you know. And that's it. And I said, is the spray going to help me? And she said, you know, it might keep them, it might not make them last longer, but she said that type of damage may not happen. And it's like, oh my God. I said, yeah, I guess I could do a scientific experiment, I suppose, and see. And I said, do you spray it every day? She's like, oh no, you spray it every couple months. So you're saying you can apply this chemical and it stays on your shoes for 2 months on your leather? That's got to be some nasty ass fucking chemical there. I don't want to buy it. I don't know what that is, but I've never needed it. And it's like, it's another thing to sit around your house staring at you going, why the fuck did you buy me? Why the fuck did you buy me? So I never let people sell me things. I just said, oh, think about that. It's like, I'll just take, I'm already spending $250 in your store. I'm not going to spend another like $50 on this shit. No thanks. And, you know, and they're saying, oh yeah, I treat my shoes, but it's like, they have 10 pairs of shoes. Like, this is what they do. These are women. They're shoe-oriented animals. Like, And they weren't very good looking women in there today. Usually, hello. I like going there because it usually has young, good looking women. That's why I usually shop there. And it's like, had 2 fat ones in there today. They were nice enough. But I like seeing some like beautiful young titties, you know? You know, and it's like, you could just like rip their shirts open and start milking them or something. Like dairy cows. Just like, you know, I find like when women are unattractive, like there's nothing about them that I want to suck on. I've really noticed that. So I think like, and women always look more attractive when they're clothed than when they're not. So I figure like, why not like put your breasts in the most advantageous position and then let me just like play with them or take them out and fondle them and stuff. And you can put them in and go on your way. And I don't have to go through the trouble of feeding you or anything. Maybe they just want to be played with now and then. You know, a little random fondling. You know, if you're going to wear that shirt, I'm going to fondle you. Or you could ask them first, like, would it be all right if you took your breasts out and allowed me to touch them? You know, hey, it's just a question. I had these old men come into this coffee shop and say, do you mind if we sit down with you? And I said, what? He's like, oh, I just asked. And I just stared at him. And they went away. I was just like, what the fuck? You think my time is worth that little? What he really meant is, can I sort of overpower you with my question? And you can just get up and leave if you don't like it? Because once we're here, you can't tell us to go. And this is our favorite table. You know, and have really bad boundaries. They really do. Like, old people have some really bad fucking boundaries, man. They just don't think about it. They haven't been thinking about people their entire lives. It's like, dude, find another fucking table. They try to pretend like they're being so friendly. Yeah, like white people are so fucking friendly. I'm dying of your friendliness. My shoulder's been bothering me the last few days, just talking, so I'm just kind of like, that's the one part of my body now that's, after everything else, it's the shoulder's bothering me now, so I just got to be really careful. And, self-value. Wow, I'm getting some sun now. Then I thought I'll walk across the river, give some money to the giver, give a little shiver. I'm so glad I'm home. I'll order those fucking things online or something, and then wow, another kingfisher, and then take that other shit back one day, and then what is the purpose of life? Good feelings. So not just emotions. No. Got this. There's this guru in India. These ashrams. These people making like 5,000 meals a day. They're volunteers. They work 7 days a week. Right? They're probably stoked to get to a place in life where they're working for some fucking kook. I mean, holy shit, man. Holy shitballs. That's some fucking shitball shit. You'll see that in any kind of cult. Yeah, people doing work for free. This one woman, Felicity Kelly, I stayed in a cabin with her. She was a guru kind of person. And I ended up packing up all her stuff for her and storing it for her. With no so much as a thank you. You know. But she sure knew where my dick was at night when she wanted to suck it. She was sucking my dick. I was doing things for her. And she's telling me how to feel. She's got school members sexually assaulting me. She's telling me to forget it. She's telling me that's part of the training. Because it's getting to my personal problems. She's telling me I can't get angry, even in my own home, about anything. And then she has people coming in and getting angry at me at the top of their lungs. And you start to see, this isn't planned necessarily, but it's the way they are. You get to see a little microsystem of society. And they call this love. They call this love. And they really think of it as loving. And if you didn't sort of spell it out for yourself, I got a dislocated shoulder. I had a student break into my house and sexually assault me in front of her and witnesses, and they did nothing. So these are all people basically at the same level, kind of like 15 to 18-year-old sexual abuse victims. And everything's backwards. The master is not a master. He's not doing any fucking work. All these other people are, and they're doing it for him for free. For nothing almost. Making a little money here and there. Even the main instructor, Felicity, almost gets killed. From, the first disciple tries to take her out. I mean, they live with this shit. This is their lives. You know, they're all in. They're invested. And I say all power to you. If you're that invested, if you really believe that much, then you should do it. You know, you should go ahead and believe that. And I got to see it, what is life? Why is there life? It's not for that. I'll tell you that. It's not to live like a slave and be an abuser of other people or just speak with a serpent tongue, because down in core you really can't deal with things. And the people around you can't deal with things, and any group that doesn't know how to deal with things or conflict when it happens, and it has clear lines as to what behavior is acceptable and what behavior isn't acceptable, then that's a cult. Something happens and you're in an ashram and they say, oh, that's part of your training. Well, then, all of a sudden, I'm doing all the work, aren't I? I'm processing an impossible scale of violence. I'm doing all the work. I should be the guru, right? And so what happens is the victim becomes the guru, because they're the one really doing all the work. The guru's not done any work. They've just someone who can call themselves a guru. The media maybe props them up because they're all royalty anyway. There's never been a guru, basically, you know? Oh. Yeah, I think you could walk across there. We started down there. Bow, bow, bow. What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of life? Well, it's not to be around violent people. But if there is violence, what would the purpose of life have to say about it? Well, I mean, I would take pages from every cult I've ever known. I would say nature has its own power, and you have a power given to you, and people do exercises, education, relationships, money, rank, decisions, will, commitment, you name it, and they can produce certain kind of levels of athleticism and health. They can be very confident, can be very assertive. They can do things and go places maybe other people can't go. They can generate a charity. They can generate a business. They could lead people. They could build great things. They can fly helicopters. They can travel the world. They can speak different languages. They can perform in public. all these things. And those of us who can't perform in public, that would be something different. Luckily most people don't expect us to perform in public. People you don't look around expecting people to perform in public, and yet, in a sense, anyone in public is performing. For instance, I talk a lot, I think a lot. I have no facility in persuading other people to think about anything. So it saved me from ever deluding myself into thinking that I could. So I make videos that nobody sees. I write books that nobody reads. I sing songs that nobody hears, like this bird. That's my happiness. I love my mother. I probably love my father too. There's something quite compelling about them when you're young. That makes getting older that much harder. My father never walked with me. It's been like these rivers and streams. Yeah. Oh, bad. Yeah. There probably are things that are just. I would say the purpose of life is to get old. Hey? Get old. From a childhood perspective, I guess my purpose was to get old. I want to, people see getting old as a problem, but to me it's the goal, right? It's the goal is getting old, right? It's the goal. The goal is getting old, which makes it the goal, right? You want to go get golden. How do you make yourself golden? And people, I'll share something I learned from another cult. People give up thinking about things too soon. They don't think deeply enough. Ooh, you could see that as kind of a macabre thing for a guru to say. People don't think about things deeply enough. They give up too easily. Interesting. In a way, I was his first real graduate from the Qigong school. I consider myself the Golden Emperor graduate and first noble disciple of Dr. Dongjong. I should totally refabricate myself as the Qigong school will be like, what the fuck is this guy on about now? I don't know what I did with my other lighter. Anyway. Now this is getting... So it's, life is this way and that. So if I think about things, I'm pretty good at life. And so I think whatever life's purpose is, I think the answer to what is life's purpose or why is there life because of whatever I say. You know, maybe life is just waiting for me to come along and make some meaning out of it. So, what if you can never give the answer to the full meaning of life because life is about developing the meaning of life? That's what life does. It develops the meaning of life, and the meaning of life is logs and stones and people. And anything those people make has to be drawn up into the meaning of life. The earth is made of meaning, whether you call it steel or glass or a dildo. We've put meaning into the world. You might think, oh, dildos, that's penises and things. I was watching a couple teenage girls lick a dildo last night and enjoying myself immensely. you know, I would rather they licked a dildo than a guy's actual cock, and it was quite arousing. I'm like, that is something arousing about watching two young women licking and fondling what looks to be an erect penis. Why wouldn't that feel pleasurable to me? Why would I feel guilty about that? That's a no-brainer. You flash that picture in front of any red-blooded man in the world, they'd be like, yeah, that's arousing. Why? Did someone say I'm a homosexual? Even homosexuals are going, that looks good. No, they're going, that looks good, girl. You keep licking that schwang. But I'm going to stick to an asshole myself. And so they keep licking that schwang. I made a movie. Well, I didn't, but I could, called Licking My Schwang. Licking that schwang. You're the director of the film. What is schwang? Well, it's whatever you want it to be in a way. It's that thing that makes you kind of go swing. And it's like schwang. Anyway. So I experienced some sadness today. I was in the car with my mom. We were talking about children and people's children are going to have children and their children's going to have children. And, in your family, your nieces, nephews, your children, they're going to have children. They're going to have children. And how much of their lives is going to be the same? How much is going to be different? Are the challenges going to be more or less? Are their lives going to be easier or harder? There's nothing more difficult than going through the difficulties of being on earth, and there's nothing essentially more wise, more full of knowledge than to suffer. So to me, human suffering is pure knowledge. And primarily, the problem is there knowledge to help relieve all suffering? It's that we don't use that knowledge. We don't listen to that knowledge. We don't study enough of that knowledge. And enough people, we have all the desire, all the necessity to study our suffering, but we're not studying enough of it. So the main suffering is that there's too much suffering to get the value of the knowledge of our suffering. That is a very critical place for humans to be.